and gentlemen, our next speaker is a gentleman that hails from Denver, Colorado. He has had a long history in entrepreneurship. He may not look like he knows tax strategy by the look of him. But he does. He's one of the best in the industry, one of the best in the business. He has been a member of Becoming the Better You, and I've gotten to work with him a little bit myself. A fantastic individual with an even better and more amazing story. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Manny Aragon.
Thank you, Anthony. How's everybody doing today? Good start to the event. It's funny, Anthony leads with the tax strategy. I'm sitting here all morning thinking about all the stuff I got to do when I get back home. And so, I'm just like, I got to be crazy to fly out of town at the busiest time of the year to come down to Dallas for something like this. But, I think that's what leadership is about. So I think as we kind of let life put us in a corner, it's easy to be so business focused. And that's what I was doing this morning, is sitting there saying, what's important? Why am I down here? And why are we all down here? It's to become the better you, right? And being unshakable, I think we all have a life story where it starts very unconventional. We don't get to pick our parents. We don't get to pick our siblings. We don't get to pick the neighborhood we grow up in. But it shapes you into who you are. It shapes the decisions you make, and it shapes the future you can create. So, Anthony said, I have a deep background in entrepreneurship, but my story didn't start there. I was born into, a very broken environment, drug-addicted family. My dad was locked up the bulk of my childhood, and I was exposed to a lot of things that I wasn't, super proud of. And I used to wear that as an excuse. I wore that as an excuse for the decisions I made and the places I was going. But I had a lot of exposure to violence, so I want to say the first moment that really affected me was in the second grade. I'm riding my bike home from school, and a kid walks up to me and pulls a pocket knife on me, takes my bike. So, I'm a young kid, run home, tell my parents, and we get my bike back a couple of days later, but that was my first exposure to violence. Always book smart kid, straight A's all through elementary, and around the 5th grade, my parents got divorced. And that really impacted me a lot. I became isolated, started getting in a lot of trouble, started smoking weed at 10, 11 years old, ditching school. 6th, 7th, 8th grade, got kicked out of every school I attended, which led to a very even worse incident. So I'm from Denver, Colorado. So Columbine High School occurred when I was in the 5th grade. So neighborhood I grew up in, like I said, exposed to a lot of things that I won't go too deep in, but to make a long story short, I caught a first in-school gun incident in 9th grade. So ended up becoming committed to the state of Colorado, and I was charged with an adult felony at 14 years old. So that was the fractured foundation of my life, and where I started to reflect and say, okay, that was the moment where I said, everything in my life is shaken. The family dynamics, the history, all these excuses that I was carrying for the decisions I was making, it was disappointing to me, and I had to look in the mirror, or the aluminum mirror in my jail cell as a 15, 16-year-old kid. And it wasn't a good experience. And they asked the panel this morning, what was the light switch that created change? For me, it wasn't being unshakable, it was being shackled to bury my grandma at 16 years old. Walking into her funeral and understanding that I made a promise to her that I'd be a better kid, and I never got that opportunity. She passed away unexpectedly. And so that was something that kind of put a chip on my shoulder, and I wanted to carry that forward and just better my life for her. And so that started a path where I ended up graduating high school a year early. So like I said, always book smart. That was never an issue. It was maybe attention. I wanted acceptance at home. Whatever you want to call it, that's what I was chasing. But ended up getting a 2-year degree in accounting. Just kept bettering myself. Said, okay, I accomplished this goal, keep moving. Accomplished this goal, keep moving. And I launched my tax business back in 2014. So keep in mind, I have an adult felony at age 14. The IRS denies me. worst thing I could experience in life. And I'm like, invested all this money, bought a new computer, folders, excited to take this entrepreneur approach, and big red flag, nope. And so very depressed, sat back at home, took a pen and paper back before, when we used to write letters, so very traditional guy. And I hand drafted a letter to the IRS and explained to them, my life circumstances, my situation, and why I think it was important for me to become a tax specialist. It took them 6 months to get a response, but one of the happiest days of my life, I opened that letter and they said, we'd love for you to become a tax specialist and or a certified tax preparer. And I bring that up because it just goes, I think the moral of the story is you have to believe in yourself. You have to explain people your situations and the life decisions that you make, because people can always judge you based on what you wear. I was meeting with Brian last week, and I'm a t-shirt and jeans kind of guy, and so I think it's the fact we have to remain coachable, but we have to explain why we make the decisions that we make. And so I had to carry this public perception of a felony at age 14, and it affected me a lot. It affected how I walked into rooms. It affected me wanting to speak to people. I carried those scars and wounds of that human interaction. And as I progressed through all of that, it just reminds you that the story is important. That's why we do what we do, is I can articulate myself very well written. This is actually my first speaking engagement, so very out of my comfort zone. Thank you. But I think the piece of it is the accolades are great, but the human interaction is more important than the business that we're building. We all want to sell stuff. We all want to, have a big house and a nice car in the driveway, but like who we are as people is more important than the money in the bank. And that's what's going to carry our kids forward. I have a 5-year-old. He turns 5 on Tuesday. And so I'm thinking about, his birthday coming up, and I'm like, it's great. He has a room full of toys, but, I'm handwriting, I guess, a storybook for him to read to him on Tuesday. So, I think that kind of stuff where the material things are great, but some of the happiest moments in my life was before I ever made any money. Was, I was locked up as a kid, but having that hug from my grandma meant more to me than the cars I have in the driveway today. So, I think resetting that human mind state of life has to be more valuable than the stuff that we're chasing. So the mentorship and, I love Toby's, the Unshakable Investor. I was asking myself, what are we investing in? Are we investing in each other? Are we investing in our future? Are we investing in legacy? I like to write books. I have a book coming out in the next couple months. And the goal is not to sell 1 million copies. The goal is to leave my son a legacy that says, hey, yeah, your dad started off bad, but it didn't end that way. It's easy to they say comparison's the thief of joy, but I think comparison is also how we sharpen each other. Because you've been through something I haven't been through. I've been through something you haven't been through. I may know something on a tax strategy that you don't know. I told the team last week, if I want to learn how to push a broom, I'm going to go find the janitor. If I want to learn how to speak, I'm going to surround myself with people who have done it before. So that's what investing in yourself means, where, is this out of my comfort zone? Yeah, sure, but someone in here may change their life, and that's what it's about. So I think that's the goal of everything that I'm doing. And the accolades are great. I mean, if you guys want to talk taxes, I could do that all day, but I don't think that's, my goal from this event. So, I appreciate you guys giving me the opportunity to speak today. Brenda, I appreciate Anthony, the team. And if you guys want to learn more about me, please feel free to come and chat with me. Thank you.
Give it up for Manny, ladies and gentlemen. Great job, buddy.